What I think I look like when I'm preparing for a match. What I actually look like when I'm preparing for matches. Well, my midfield is exposed. If they're playing with 3 and I've only got 2, then that's going to put me in some serious trouble. But I'm really curious to see how my wings are going to play against their advanced wing backs. Now, we should be able to get 4 in behind, don't you think? Pop filter. Apparently I popped too much. That should work. Hello, my name's Zealand, and what we are doing today is answering a question that I got in the comments actually not too long ago, where I play up the final 5-6 days before a match and show you what I do to counter what I'm going to see from my opponent and how I use all the different reports that you get before a match to my advantage through the end of the match. Spend so much time talking about all this different stuff that doesn't have to do with actually competing and winning in matches that this is something I feel like I've almost overlooked, talking about how to get your team ready to play once you have the team that you want. Aside incoming. If you want to watch me get my team ready to play all the time, I do stream on Twitch with the link down in the description. I stream 4 days a week. I'm usually playing Football Manager, and I would love to see you there. Also have my Twitter and my Instagram down in the description as well, so that's awesome. In other channel news, this is also the first video being edited by our new channel editor, Reese. Everybody say hi, Reese. Hi, Reese. Super exciting. It's going to allow us to do a whole lot more cool stuff now that Reese is on board. I will have more free time, maybe even be able to get another video out per week. Who knows? But it is great news nonetheless. Happy to have Reese on board. When did we get so cool? But back to the matter at hand, and that is attempting to win this match. And I've actually taken my Twitch save and set it up so that I can film this video off of it. I have my Super Cup match at the beginning of the season coming up in Belarus. And so I am 6 days out in that Super Cup match, and I'm going to take you through everything that I'm going to do building up to the Super Cup match to get my team ready. Now, obviously, this will be affected by the fact that this is an early season game. We are just coming out of the preseason, not everybody is match fit, and my preparation is going to go along accordingly. We're going to branch into a couple of different things. We're going to branch into how to set up the training. We're going to branch into how to set up your scouts so that you can get reports on the opposition, and why you should sign data analysts, because apparently somebody in the Twitch chat the other day thought you didn't need to sign them. Of course, you can only sign them if you're able to sign them. If you're at a really small club, don't worry about it. But with that, it is now time to go down to the corner. Down on the corner. Something in the street. Creedence Clearwater Revival. Always with a song for the occasion. Now, normally, if I'm about a week out from a big match, like this technically being a cup final, I'm going to take it seriously. I want to win a piece of silverware. We're playing a team called Dynamo Brest. We're mature. Shut up. And they're actually very capable of beating us. So I do want to take this seriously, but I've got a friendly match a couple of days before, because obviously our match sharpness and it's not quite up to par. That's this second thing here. That's basically what changes during the off-season. Your condition's going to be 100, but your sharpness, you're not up to match speed. So a week out, I would like to set my team for a big match and have them go through a whole week of training together as the set team. But for this match a few days before, I'm going to want to play a couple of people that don't matter. But I'm not actually going to play the match. All right, so we've hammered our opponents 4-1 in the friendly. Excellent effort, boys. And now we can get ourselves ready for the big match. And this is where we'll take the steps. Number 1, to set a first team. That is the one I'm going to want to actually use. Now, I rotate all the time because I've got some weird foreign rules to deal with when it comes to Belarus, but if you have a first team you like, you can just save it by clicking this drop down and clicking Save Team Selection so that you don't have to actually go through and set up your first team. It'd be an absolute lifesaver, actually. All right, our first team is set. This guy will not be hurt at that point, and now they're all set. We can go to our training section. And I know I haven't really done a training. Huh. Boom. But this is not going to be overwhelming. You just go to training, you go to calendar, even if you don't normally go in here. You leave it just to your staff. After this friendly, I want to recover because my team is getting hurt a lot. You saw we had 2 injuries after that last friendly that we played, and I do not want this. If you don't know what a match practice is, when you schedule new matches, your training does not reset unless you reset it. So you will end up with stupid things like a match practice, which is essentially an intra-squad scrimmage in between 2 matches, which are not that far apart. So we would like to remove that and work on something that I think is going to help us in the coming match. Now, I would base this off of what you think your team is good at, what you think their team is bad at, whether you are the better team, whether it's an even match, or whether you are the worst team. If you're the worst team, you might want to work on trying to score off set pieces. You might want to work on defending. If you're the better team, you might want to go into attacking and throw in an attacking patient, an attacking overlap to give you some nice training of breaking down defenses that are going to be a little bit more packed in. If it's even, you probably want to go to tactical and work on your defensive and attacking shadow play. So I'm going to do attacking patient, defensive shadow play, and then also do attacking shadow play since it's early in the season. Give us a lot of tactical runs so that we don't make as many mental errors and we're sharper in that area. You always want your match preview right before the match, which is down here, and you see how this was not reset. If you don't want to go through the trouble of resetting it manually, all you have to do is click this drop down and then re-click it, and you see how it resets and adds a recovery there. We're going to take advantage of this empty space and add something called a match review. And I'm just going to go ahead and add that after this friendly that's over here, and I'll set the rest of this training later at another time because that's not important for this video. Keeping myself focused while making a video is in the top 3 most difficult things. It's right behind getting out of bed in the morning and not eating the last brownie, in case you were curious. Now we need to go look at the other things you're going to want to have set to give yourself the best chance to win in an upcoming game. And to do that, we have to go to scouting. Ooh. Okay. This guy actually looks pretty good, so we're gonna go ahead and, yep, nope. Where were we? The last brownie. Right, scouting, assignments. We drop down to assignments, and we want somebody scouting the next opposition. I have removed this so that we can put it back on. My guy is Neil McGinnis, and the way you want to figure out which your guy is in your scouting department, obviously it might not be this large. Your scouting department might be larger than this, but you want to go to staff, you want to go to scouting, and then you want to switch this to mental attributes so that you can see 2 things. We're looking for 2 things: tactical knowledge and judging player ability. 13 tactical knowledge, 18 judging player ability. Neil McGinnis is my guy. So we use this arrow up here, we go back to where we were, we find Neil McGinnis, and we say, yo, what up, Neil? Right-click assignments, create assignment. And now we're going to go for report on a team, ongoing report on the next opposition. Neil McGinnis, have at it. What a lad. What an absolute lad. It's actually a great scout. You are also going to want to create an analyst report on the next team. This is going to provide you with information about the openings that you have. So you go to create, at the top left, you hit team, and then ongoing analyst report. You can use your analyst pool, but that to me, just not cool enough. We're actually going to go and pick a specific analyst, Dmitry Goncharenko, and we're going to tell him to give me a report on the next opposition. So now we should see Goncharenko, who is right here, and we should see Neil McGinnis, who is right here, both with their assignments set, ready to provide me reports about Dynamo Brest. Our training is set as well, and our first team that is going to be starting this match to win the Super Kubok Belarusi is already in place and ready to roll. Another good reason to set your team early is so that when these reserve matches come available, you can just make everyone available and go through and take out the players that are picked and in the subs, and you're able to keep a certain level of match sharpness up amongst the whole team. Read the warning label, though. It only works if you actually have a reserve team. Ha! My playing mentality is adventurous. Where did it say that? Adventurous. Ooh. I like long walks on the beach. This has nothing to do with anything. It's a preseason team report that you always get when the season's about to come up, you know. You're going to get advice from one of your coaches, whichever coach you select, to provide you with the pre-match team selection. This is something I obviously want to ignore because I've already picked my team, but if you've got a couple of matches in quick succession, it can be a nice place to start for actually picking your team. If you're looking for the person that gives you that advice, you go to Staff, Responsibilities, drop it down to Tactics, and I've given it to Yasser Al-Khattani. I actually do want to switch that, so this is how you do it. You drop it down, pick a different person to delegate to. You obviously want to... I don't think you can undelegate this, because it's just a second opinion on what the match squad should be. So boom. Confirm. Next thing that will come up is something called a pre-match tactical briefing. And the pre-match tactical briefing is where you can sit down with your team, I always handle this myself, and talk to them about the style that you are about to play against the team you're about to play against. Gee whiz, Zealand, really? In it, you are going to have your opposition report in terms of tactics. So now I can click over from tactical analysis, which is a look at what we are doing, to the opposition report, which is a look at their formation and a look at strengths and weaknesses. They're capable of shooting from long range. We're probably going to want to push them off the top of the box, but they have bad vision, so maybe I'm going to want to close them down more. All of this is telling me that I want to close them down more. At bad vision, they're not going to be able to pick the balls over the top as well as you think they might. You click over to opposition match analysis. Now hopefully it's going to pop up, but I think I put it in too late on the scouting area because we only put it in 4 days before, but you can click over here and receive even more information and be able to react to it much the same way you just saw me react to the opposition report. In here, you can handle everything like switching up your match plans or setting specific opposition instructions. I don't like to do any of that in here, but I do like to click on Tactics. And in Tactics, I am able to check how my team feels about playing the certain style against this opponent. And how we'll do that is I just clicked Attacking, and they agreed. The squad says, brilliant. We think we can play attacking against these boys. We think we're the better team. We're going to be able to go out and enforce our will. But if that came up gray, or if that came up red, and they thought, well, that's not something we want to do, you can actually switch it and say, well, would you want to play positive? And then you can click whichever one sounds the best to you, talking to your team, and then hopefully it'll turn green, and they'll say, yeah, we weren't sure about attacking, but positive, we're good to go. You can also check if certain tenets of the way you want to play, like for me, a higher line of engagement, are big for them in this match, and they're not thinking it's big for them in particular. So how about a much higher line of defensive engagement? That's fine for me, but they aren't super enthusiastic about it. And you can do that with essentially everything that you find in your instructions and see if the team is against doing that. So if you have an instruction there, I don't know if this is going to work, you can check it with your team. I typically do it whether to defend narrow against some better teams or just to defend narrow or defend wide against somebody. I say, hey, do you guys want to do this? And if they don't think it's a good idea, I'm probably not going to do it, but at least they like the tactic in general. This is a great testing ground. I have ignored the advice my players have bounced back to me before, but it is not something that I would recommend ignoring all of the time. It's impossible to isolate the effect that getting a good reaction from your squad in this situation will actually have on your ability to perform in the match, because there's so many other extenuating factors and it's all probability based anyways. But it can't hurt, right? In terms of bringing your team together and putting them into a position where they are comfortable to go out and execute your tactic on the field. And whenever you're done poking around, asking about things, putting in match plans, you can click End Meeting, and you're done. Someone's sitting back there like, that's what I've been pawning off on my assistant manager all year. Interesting. So when Neil McGinnis has finished his scouting report, this is actually what you're going to see. You don't have to go into your pre-match tactical instructions to see it. It will come straight to your inbox. You get some more weaknesses, some more strengths, and you use your common managerial sense to react to them. So their weaknesses, they have allowed 5 of 12 assists to come from inside the penalty area. We can probably walk them down. No need to play long, direct passes because you're able to walk in and assist. Players tend to take the goal-scoring chances, so obviously we're going to make sure that we are a little more tidy defensively. I actually love this. Recommending a particular center back to play because they're so good in the area. He says, well, if you play Bajawi, his heading and aerial ability might be able to combat their aerial ability. Thanks, Neil. But their goalkeeper's bad, so let's shoot from anywhere. And just as a reference, after my last friendly match, this is what you'll get after the match in a post-match analysis. I'll tell you the best performing player who didn't perform as well will end up right here. Give you all sorts of interesting information, and if you click along the top, you'll get even more interesting information, like with the best pass combinations that you had during that match. And you can use that information to tailor how you want to play against different formations with your formation. The last one's probably the best, though. The most key passes and the most key mistakes is a good way to keep people honest. And once you're finally up next to the match, the last little bit of information you're going to get is your fitness report. Now, this is going to come from your head physio, and it's going to tell you who is able to play and who is not able to play. If they fail the fitness test, simply do not play them. It's not a good idea. If you get a fitness test not required, but you should be careful, I don't like to play them unless I necessarily have to, or I feel like I have to, or it's towards the end of the season, or you can afford to maybe lose that person for a few games. That usually is the result of match sharpness not being there. I like to bring them off the bench if I think I'm going to win that match by a lot. You can get recommendations for 30 minutes, 45 minutes, 60 minutes, and 75 minutes of action. If they're over a half of action, so if they're at 60 to 75 minutes, or they're cleared for a full game like Dennis Sherbitzky, then I'll say, yeah, sure, go for it. Absolutely. Yes, play them. When you end up with this lack of match sharpness, when you end up with 45 or 30 minutes recommended, I'll prefer to bring that player off the bench because it does mean that they have the opportunity to get hurt or make the injury worse, especially when you're dealing with muscle injuries or slight pulls or tears or tightness coming from training. You don't want to try and exacerbate that. Obviously, if you're playing in a cup final, then you're going to want to have somebody push through that. I was playing in the Europa League knockout stages not long ago, and I had Antonio Rudiger just get a shot in his leg so he could play through a pulled hamstring. No problem with that at all. If the match is big, play him through it, but if it's just another league match, you could end up costing yourself a couple of league matches instead of just one, so be careful. And now with my team set, I am ready to go into the match. One other thing I wanted to make sure that I mentioned, though, is that your starting 11 and where they're going to line up and how much pressure you're going to try and put on, which of course is going to be very effective against a team with bad vision. It's also going to affect the type of bench you put together. So the different reports that come in, you're going to want to pick substitutes that you think will be able to help maybe exploit a different part of their formation, will help exploit a different part of what they're trying to do, and I'll show you an example. So they are really packed in. They're playing a 4-5-1. We might need to do some serious unpacking. So I have a really offensive right wing back that I'm going to make sure that I have on the bench for my backup goalkeeper, because I don't usually have a backup goalkeeper on the bench anyways, and so I know I can go into my bench and find somebody who is very offensively creative and is going to be able to do some impressive things for us going forward and not just play good defense to help break down their defense. Click along in the top right, you get your match preview. This is where you figure out the weather. The weather does affect the way the match is played. I've been asked this multiple times. Yes, if it's raining, that's going to affect the way the match is played. If it's cold, if it's snowy, which is like 75% of the time in Belarus, that's all going to affect the way the match is played. I mean, it's pretty obvious, though. The weather is inclement, classy, technical, tiki-taka stuff's just not going to work as well, but obviously you don't want to go away from what you're too good at, so it's really just a personal feel of how bad the weather is to how much you need to change. In your match preview screen, you can also see basically everything we've already talked about before. You can go to this opposition report drop down, look at your opposition analysis report, opposition scout report to get more weaknesses and strengths and everything. You can get a freaking stat pack, which is apparently only available for league games. That doesn't make any sense. And once again, you can look at the other team. They're not going to be playing this formation. It's not typically accurate there. Oh, you wanted to find out if I was actually going to win the game. Got to check me out on Twitch then, I guess. That's how I get ready for a match. Those are all the different things that are going through my mind. If you enjoyed the video, please drop a like and subscribe to the channel. I'm sorry I forgot to say that at the end, but if you've made it this far, you're my hero, and I love you and thank you. It's not like it's a chore, but sometimes people are just like, oh, I got the information I need. I'm going to get out of here.